Hey, good morning. Great to have you along. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. We're just getting underway. So thank you so much for being here. Hit that like button. Very much appreciated. Makes a difference, too. So thank you. All right, here we go. Good morning, my friends. The marketplace of ideas is open. And it's great to have you along this morning. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. So we had Donald Trump and Elon Musk doing an interview or conversation, as Elon Musk likes to talk them. Not necessarily interviews, conversation between the two. Went for about 2 hours last night on X, and it was off to a bit of a rocky start because X was getting a bunch of, a denial of service. So took I think they were delayed by about 40 minutes before the conversation began, and then it went for about 2 hours. And it was a conversation between Elon Musk and Donald Trump, not necessarily an interview. And so they had about 1.2 million users of X who tuned into the interview, and then a number who have watched it now afterward. Because Elon Musk posted earlier today, he said combined views of the conversation with Donald Trump and subsequent discussion by other accounts now at 1 billion. So again, now you're saying subsequent conversation, so reactions and people talking about the interview, so on. You got a lot of people. So you had 1.2 million people who were tuned in to the interview. And again, it was delayed. And so they talked about a number of different things. They talked about immigration, foreign policy, inflation, government spending, energy issues. Trump talked about the border. He said, we're already overwhelmed, Elon, talking about what's going on with the number of people crossing the border. And he said they're coming from Africa, they're coming from Asia, they're coming from the Middle East, they're coming from South America, they're coming from everywhere, and there are a lot of really bad ones, Trump said, of these people who are coming into the country. And he blamed the vice president for this, saying as borders are, she could have closed the U.S.-Mexico border. And Trump said she could close it up right now, that she's all talk about this. She tries to pretend she's going to do something. She's had 3.5 years, Trump said. Then they talked about inflation. And I'm trying to give you an overview of what they discussed last night in case you didn't see it. If you did see it, I'd welcome your comments on Facebook this morning, because I asked if you watched this, what were your thoughts? If you did watch it, and there may be a number of folks like me who plan to watch it. So Elon Musk, I also saw on X, he was asking, because it was about a 2-hour interview, and Elon Musk is asking other users, can somebody boil this down to less than an hour? Because I think that would get more views. So boil it down to less than an hour. But Trump talking about inflation. He said, if you're just a middle income person, you can't afford it. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, people were saving a lot of money. Today, they're using all that money and borrowing money just to live. It's a horrible thing that's happening. Inflation was caused by oil, he said. This was at another point, their conversation. Said that Russia had not what he's saying here is, if Russia had not invaded Ukraine, if Hamas had not attacked Israel, and if the U.S. had not abandoned Afghanistan, prices would be lower, he said. And then he criticized the president for his foreign policy, and this goes on. He was talking about government spending. Trump expressed his support for having Musk serve on a commission that would monitor government overspending. And this is after Musk had floated the idea. And so, what do we see here? See, Donald Trump engaged in conversations with people and listening. I talked about this yesterday. The Donald Trump in this conversation with a server a few months ago, she was talking about if she were able to, if her tips were not taxed, how much more money she would have. So she received tips, and if those tips were not taxed, she'd have a lot more money. Donald Trump heard that, and he says, yeah, we're going to do that. And you've got the same thing happening here again. You've got Donald Trump hearing what Elon Musk is saying and saying, you ought to be in charge of monitoring government overspending, Trump says. And he said, Musk responded to that, I think it would be great to just have a government efficiency commission that ensures that the taxpayer money is spent in a good way. And I'd be happy to help out on such a commission, he said. And Trump said he would love that. He told Musk, you're the greatest cutter, because what the cuts he, was Elon Musk took over X, he trimmed a lot of the fat. And what about it? I mean, here's X, and they seem to be moving along fine. And so now, again, there's a lot, these denial of service and the fact that they were delayed, they couldn't get going yesterday. What do you make of that? See, I think there's a conversation in that. These denial of service attempts, and because, I mean, let's face it, video is nothing new for X. I mean, you go on X any given day, and I'm on X. I have an account on X, and I'm on X pretty regularly, and I don't post I'm not a prolific poster on X, but I do use the platform. And there is all kinds of video on X. There is video all the time. You've got all kinds of people who are doing video. They got premium accounts and they're doing video, much like we're doing on YouTube this morning. So there's all kinds of video. And the idea that somehow this is, they couldn't handle it. And this is what Kamala Harris was, her reaction to the campaign over this self-obsessed rich guys, talking on X and about the denial of service. So there's video on X all the time. But when Donald Trump comes on X, what do we see? We see those who want to make it as difficult as possible for people to see and hear him. I mean, what other conclusion can you draw from that? Just that, X can't handle it. I don't think that's a very thoughtful reaction. So I almost think that's worthy of conversation in and of itself. So it's a big deal, and I'll get to more about their conversation here in a moment, some of the top takeaways. The Washington Examiner's got a piece this morning. The European Union was warning Elon Musk about this interview with Trump. And they said if X fails to regulate disinformation and illegal content, it could generate detrimental effects on civic discourse and public security. This is important, and so on. This is just crazy. So this now, about 1/3 of X users live in the European Union. And so they were, and Elon Musk and X making it clear as I think this is coming from the Trump campaign. But I think Elon Musk's response was to laugh this off, as he does a lot of criticism. It's an absolute joke. The Trump campaign responded a bit more forcefully, saying the European Union should mind their own business instead of trying to meddle in the U.S. presidential election. It's a spokesman for the Trump campaign. Only in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris America can an undemocratic foreign organization feel emboldened enough to tell this country what to do. They know that a President Trump victory means America will no longer be ripped off because he will smartly utilize tariffs and renegotiated trade deals that puts America first. So they didn't respond too well to that. So the European Union, again, warning Elon Musk. This was a letter to Musk and the CEO of X, coming from a French businessman who is the commissioner for, he's the European Commissioner for Internal Market. And it's pretty incredible. The CEO of X said this is an unprecedented attempt to stretch a law intended to apply in Europe to political activities in the U.S. It also patronizes European citizens, suggesting they are incapable of listening to a conversation and drawing their own conclusions. Been a lot of that going on over in the EU, European Union. Good reason to be concerned about it. And not just Americans, there are people in the European Union who are very concerned about it. There's a speech that Rowan Atkinson did, actually, I think it was several years ago. The actor Rowan Atkinson, probably best known to American audiences as Mr. Bean, who's funny as hell. And Rowan Atkinson was in some of the James Bond movies. He's a funny guy. And a speech that he gave several years ago has resurfaced this week. And in it, he is talking about, freedom of speech and what's going on. Specifically, he's talking about in Europe and steps that they were taking at the time. And when I hear this now, this is just more of the same. It's more of the same coming from the European Union. So the big takeaways, again, from the Elon Musk and Donald Trump conversation was Elon Musk said it was a cyber attack that delayed the event. A massive DDoS attack, that's a denial of service. So a massive attack on X, he said, was responsible for the delays. The event, he said, would go on with a smaller amount of listeners and audio posted immediately afterward. So it started about 40 minutes late. And one source, again, these are, one source told The Verge that a DDoS attack had not hit X. Another source said there was a 99% chance that Musk was lying, but those claims have not been verified. So it's just the usual noise. I think, that's a conclusion I'm left with. It's just the usual noise, in reaction to what Elon Musk was saying. So they did have about 1.2 million viewers. Trump talked about the failed assassination attempt. He criticized Kamala Harris for her role as border czar. He also repeatedly warned that World War III could explode if these international crises are not resolved, he said. And he was talking about Vladimir Putin. He said, I know Putin very well. I got along with him very well. He respected me. And it's just one of those things. And we would talk a lot about Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye. But I said, don't ever do it. Don't ever do it, Trump told him. Trump says he also told Putin, I said, he went on, he said, you can't do it, Vladimir. It's going to be a bad day. You cannot do it. And he said, no way. And I said, way, Trump said. Putin, he said, I know Putin. I know President Xi. I know Kim Jong-un of North Korea. I know every one of them. And let me tell you, people say, oh, this is terrible. I'm not saying anything good or bad. They're at the top of their game. They're tough, they're smart, they're vicious, and they're going to protect their country. Trump said that, you remember Kim Jong-un, he started out calling him Little Rocket Man. And Kim Jong-un told him he had a red button on his desk. And Trump said, I said, I have a red button on my desk too, but my red button is much bigger and the red button works, Trump told it. And it was after that time then that North Korea started to simmer down. So Donald Trump also talked about the assassination attempt. He also talked about the fact that a lot of people just don't have the money for groceries. And he went on with a lot of criticism of President Joe Biden. So I think that's kind of, in a nutshell, an overview of the conversation and the problems that were occurring with denial of service then, according to Elon Musk. Other stories that are big this morning: the carrier USS Abraham Lincoln and its escorts are going to accelerate their voyage to the Middle East, according to the Pentagon. Pentagon said this yesterday. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin spoke with the Israeli Minister of Defense on Sunday, and then said he'd ordered Pentagon said the Secretary Austin has ordered the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group, as well as others then, to the Middle East and to, step on it to get there as quickly as they can. We've got a former battalion commander in the Minnesota Army National Guard unit as the same unit as Governor Tim Walz, who took to social media yesterday, blasting Walz for stolen valor, calling it an affront that Walz continues to glom onto the title of Command Sergeant Major. This is coming from John Kolb. I've had comments by Kolb here over the last few days, and he is stepping that up. He says he has no criticism of the service of Walz as an E7 or 8, but he said, I cannot say the same thing of his service sitting frocked in the Command Sergeant Major chair. He did not earn the rank or successfully complete any assignment as an E9. The White House press secretary saying, President Joe Biden supports the no tax on tips policy that Kamala Harris recently copied from Donald Trump. So now, the president's also in favor of it. It was his administration, and I didn't have this news yesterday. When this came to a vote in the U.S. Senate, it was a tie vote. Kamala Harris about taxing tips, right? That would have allowed that, the tax on tips. And it was Kamala Harris who broke the tie and said, let's allow the federal government to tax tips. So now she's out there claiming that she wants to end the tax on tips. She was the tie-breaking vote that put it in place in the first place. Not going to be a lot of Americans who understand that. Also, a New York judge ruled yesterday that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Falsely claimed New York residency on his nominating petition and that he should not appear on the New York state ballot in November. That's the big story this morning. Some of these stories in Axios catch my attention. The headline, voters trust Harris more than Trump on the economy. Is that true? You trust Kamala Harris more than Donald Trump on the economy? Axios says that's where voters are at right now. They trust her more than President Trump on the issue of the economy. This is based on new polling by the Financial Times and the University of Michigan. And then there were a couple of other pieces at Axios that caught my eye as well. Fewer Americans want companies to take a stance on politics. That got my attention. Also, there's a piece at Axios, shoplifting deterrents like locked cabinets deter in-store shopping. So for stores that are locking their cabinets, people are more likely to go and do their shopping online. And that's a quick look at the big stories this morning. It's great to have you along. Thanks so much for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. Very much appreciate it. All right, 627, cloudy, fog, and 60. And you're listening, this hour of the Greg Belfrage Show brought to you by my friends at the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month. Woo. Hopefully I didn't talk too long there. It's always a race. I'm always racing against the clock. I got a big stack of stuff I want to share. The big story is this Donald Trump and Elon Musk interview last night, whether or not there was denial of service attempts or, some are saying no, but again, some are also trying to downplay the views. I think we live in an age of propaganda. I mean, there are a lot of people, it's really difficult to ascertain the actual truth.
It's almost impossible now. For more than a decade, Lone Star Transfers helped thousands of owners legally and permanently get out of their never-ending.
Okay.
Lone Star Transfer guarantees the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and in a specific time frame. For free, no obligation consultation. Please call 855-551-7066 or go to LoneStarTransfer.com.
If you're a proud American, that means if someone comes after your family, you got to be ready. That's why you need the Mega 3-Month Emergency Food Kit from My Patriot Supply. Their Mega 3-Month Emergency Food Kit comes jam-packed with 33 varieties of filling and flavorful meals. Not only does that include creamy chicken-flavored rice, old-fashioned Italian spaghetti, and savory, cheesy broccoli soup, but you'll also get a bonus protein kit with diced beef, flavorful chicken chunks, and 3 varieties of beans. The emergency food kit provides a whopping 2,500 calories per day to keep you well fed and ready for anything. It's your solemn duty as an American to protect your family without waiting for handouts. And that starts with emergency food that you can depend on. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com right now to save $300 on your Mega 3-Month Emergency Food Kit. Patriot Supply offers free shipping too. Get your Mega 3-Month Emergency Food Kit.
6:30, cloudy, little bit of fog, and 60. News headlines coming up here from Fox News Radio, and then we'll stop in the Kello.com News Center. It's all on the way here at Kello.
I'm Gianna Gelosi. After a 40-minute delay due to an alleged cyber attack, the chat between former President Donald Trump and Elon Musk got underway on X last night. In the 2-hour conversation, The former president says things would have turned out differently had he beaten President Biden in 2020.
The Israeli attack would have never happened. Russia would never have attacked Ukraine, and we'd have no inflation.
The Harris-Walz campaign called Musk and Trump self-obsessed rich guys who will sell out the middle class. U.S. officials telling Fox Iran could launch an attack on Israel in the next 24 hours.
Last-ditch diplomatic efforts are ongoing to avert a crisis. The White House released a statement with France, Germany, Italy, and the UK urging de-escalation in the Middle East.
That's Fox's Trey Armstrong's foreign ministry said calls for de-escalation lack political logic. America's listening to Fox News.
Kello News Time 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. The court case challenging the legitimacy of Amendment G, the ballot measure on abortion in South Dakota, is being fast-tracked. The circuit court just signed an order to expedite the case filed by pro-life advocacy group Life Defense Fund. The group alleges Amendment G petition circulators broke election law and engaged in fraudulent activity to get enough signatures. Expediting the case could allow the proposed constitutional amendment to be omitted from the November ballot. South Dakota legislators are considering the role the state should play in preparing for the expansion of Ellsworth Air Force Base. Construction is already underway on the base, and State House Majority Leader Will Mortensen says preparing for the initial wave of more than 3,000 new service members that come with the new B-21 Raider stealth bombers is a monumental task.
Think about a business coming in that has 3,500 employees that's going to start in just a couple of years. All of that you would need to set up from housing to infrastructure to all the services these new people are going to demand.
And that's just the beginning. If conditions are right, the Air Force could consider Ellsworth for the addition of a second bomber squadron in the future. Sioux Falls Police Chief John Toome is asking for the public's help in the investigation of a deceased newborn found at a recycling center last week. Toome did not indicate if they have any new information. He says these types of investigations take time. Police are asking anyone who may have any information to call Crime Stoppers. And in Canaries baseball, the top spot in the West American Association division is up for grabs as the Birds take on the Winnipeg Goldeyes. The Canaries and Goldeyes are currently tied for first. The three-game series in Winnipeg starts tonight. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Mostly cloudy skies today in the Sioux Falls area. Our high temperature 78 with a southeasterly wind at 5 to 15. For tonight, mainly cloudy, low 64. Developing rain chance by daybreak tomorrow morning. And going to carry a pretty good chance of scattered rain tomorrow. Our high temperature at 76. That's your weather update from the Storm Center at Kibble-Land TV. I'm meteorologist Brian Karstens.
Serving the Sioux Empire with the latest news and the greatest talk. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9 and Kello.com.
For a little more than 4 years, I've managed to keep the world's most spoiled and entitled couple, Harry and Meghan, completely out of these daily commentaries until today. I'm Kim Commando for T-Mobile. Their advanced network now goes farther than ever before. Visit T-Mobile.com/55. Normally, I never give any thought to Harry and Meghan, but their latest stunt got my attention. After Meghan failed with her Spotify podcast and Harry failed to rally British or American support after his disgraceful book, and with the impending implosion of Meghan's jelly jam and dog biscuit business, Meghan is throwing out yet another dumb idea. This time it's called the Parents Network, to save all the children by warning parents about the dangers of social media. Except Meghan, you're too late. We already know about social media's dangers. Look, Meghan's Archwell charity supports this thing, and Archwell has a bad rap. It's not transparent. It won't say where the money goes. But I'm sure we both have a good idea. Join 500,000 folks and get my free newsletter at getkim.com.
Hey friends, Kim here. You know, it seems the older you get, the savvier you become at saving money. I really hate to overspend on things, especially the necessities. But thanks to T-Mobile, I don't have to worry about overpaying for wireless service, so I've got more time and money to spend on other things. At T-Mobile, customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for just $30 a month per line. That's a 45% savings versus Verizon. And
these are all the stories that have been trending now since yesterday.
Which means fewer scam
calls. As I go through the list, I can see where I'm like, okay, now I'm coming up on stories that I shared yesterday. So
Don't miss out. Get 2 lines of talk, text,
All the stories that have been trending in the last 24 hours that I'll recap for you coming up.
Make the switch and save.
With AutoPay using debit or bank account, plus taxes and fees.
And it's Donald Trump and Elon Musk. First, the denial of service and the fact that it was late, and I'm not going to share a lot of those stories. And then after their actual conversation, and then before the conversation, that was trending. So it was big news yesterday.
Bring charm from the outdoors into your home with Renewal by Anderson picture and combination windows. Optimizing a beautiful view and lighting and bedroom, kitchen or living room from ABC Seamless of Sioux Falls. Call 605-646-2667 today. Let's ABC.
A super check gives you an in-depth review of the current insurance coverage with a Farm Bureau Financial Services agent, no matter who your insurance provider is. That's super cool. Find out more at fbfs.com/protect. It's your future. Let's protect it.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications.
It surely appears that things are heating up in the Middle East. And I'll share a number of those stories coming up here in just a few moments.
And it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. Start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
You hear more and more about identity theft in the news every day. That's because so much of your
okay.
control, like your insurance provider that has your Social Security number and your
My mind is spinning from the time, seriously, I come into work and I start going through all of this stuff, and my mind is just spinning, worrying. So I'm not much on making conversation during these videos. So there's some lull periods here, and I'm trying to sort out not only the stories, but sort out my thoughts and my reaction, and where we're going to go with it over the course of the morning. So just to let you know my thinking as we go throughout the morning here. All right, let's get back to it. .38, cloudy skies, little bit of fog, and 60 currently at Kello. Hey, coming up this morning, another chance for you to win tickets to see Styx and Foreigner. Styx, Foreigner, and their special guest John Waite are coming to the Denny Sanford Premier Center Wednesday, August 28th. And we will have a chance for you to call in and win less than an hour from now. So we'll do that almost about an hour from now. Give you a chance to call in and win those tickets. So keep listening. And then if you want to buy tickets, for those of you who follow me on Facebook, I posted links there. You can go and purchase tickets to make sure you can see what promises to be an awesome concert. Styx and Foreigner coming to the Denny on Wednesday, August 28th.
Trending now.
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belfrage.
Well, Donald Trump and Elon Musk had a pretty overarching conversation yesterday on X. They talked about the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. They talked about immigration. They talked about Kamala Harris. And there are a variety of different stories. We'll touch on it. Trump said the government overspends taxpayer money. And then he gave an example from his own presidential term when he was asked to sign off on a deal that Barack Obama had negotiated with Boeing for 2 Air Force One planes at as much as $5.7 billion. Trump refused. Negotiated a deal with a much lower price tag. And he said that trillions and trillions of dollars have been wasted by the Biden-Harris administration. He said with the elections coming up, the people want to hear about the economy and the fact that they can't buy groceries because they don't have enough money to buy groceries. The inflation has killed them, Trump said. Food prices are up 50 to 60%, even 100% in some cases. And this stupid administration allowed this to happen, and it's a shame. And that's the thing people care most about. Yeah, the economy. I mean, it's really important. So this conversation between Elon Musk and Donald Trump went for nearly 2 hours, and it was a slow start. Took about just a little over 40 minutes for them to get underway. Elon Musk says it was because of denial of service attacks, and there are those who are saying that's not the case, but there's no evidence to prove that that's not the case. And again, I think for those of us who, if you're on X and you understand there's video on X all the time, and there are people that are, not that, everybody who's on X commands the kinds of numbers that Elon Musk or Donald Trump command. But I would say, for instance, Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, a number of others get a healthy number of views of their videos all of the time. Why is it suddenly when Donald Trump's going, then there's a problem? Don't you ask yourself that question? So they talked about News Nation now has got a piece touching on the issues they discussed. So it was delayed by tech issues. Elon Musk asked Trump about the assassination attempt. And Trump said, I didn't know I had that much blood, he was saying. And he said, he talked about God. And he said, I'm a believer now. I'm more of a believer of God, I think, Trump said. And I thought it was very clear that Donald Trump had realized he had escaped with his life. And now again, saying he thinks he's a believer in God as a result of this, being able to live through that assassination attempt. Who's to say? Pretty remarkable. Trump also talked about immigration and the number of people who are coming into the country every month. He also talked about should he win, what are the steps he would be taking, so on. And so this is Trump's first time back on X. So the live interview was last night, and it was hosted on Trump's official X account. And it used X Spaces. That's a feature that allows users of the platform to host live audio conversations. So the live conversation, Musk said on Sunday, would be unscripted with no limits on subject matter, should be highly entertaining. And then he encouraged his followers on X to post specific questions and comments under the stream's chat, he said. Trump campaign had said it would be the interview of the century. Now, again, keep in mind that this interview is going on at a time when Kamala Harris not doing media interviews of any kind. She has said she will. She is yet to make good on that promise. Let's move on. There are a bunch of other stories that I want to touch on also this morning, but that is the big story this morning. Also, the U.S. and South Korea kicking off annual summer military drills with a focus on rising threats then from North Korea. So the U.S. and South Korea doing joint military exercises. A lot of what's going on overseas, I think, is important because there are questions about a ceasefire in the Middle East, and it's kind of a make or break moment Story saying a cloud of uncertainty looming above the ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas as assault from Iran expected in coming days. So Iran apparently, according to reports, is building up. They are starting to get ready. You're seeing the preparation that Iran is beginning. And so the United States is taking additional steps. The Pentagon has ordered the USS Abraham Lincoln and a guided missile submarine to the Middle East. And they are being urged to get there quickly as they can. Also, Hezbollah has fired 30 rockets into northern Israel in a major escalation. Israeli Defense Forces say there were no casualties, but there were some 30 rockets fired into northern Israel. Meanwhile, you've got Ukraine and Russia, and Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine publicly acknowledging Ukraine's incursion into Russia's Kursk region as Putin is ordering more evacuations. So this attack will pressure Russia and restore justice, according to Zelensky. So he said Ukraine had launched an incursion into Russian territory to restore justice then and to put pressure on Moscow. And so Russia has widened their evacuations now to a second border region. Also trending this morning, Donald Trump says he plans a $100 million lawsuit against the Department of Justice for the 2022 raid on Mar-a-Lago. So he's suing DOJ. And there are more you can find more details on that story at a number of media sources, Washington Examiner, Newsweek, a number of others. Also, problems persist for Tim Walz. He's been called out by a former unit battalion commander over the whole stolen valor controversy that's surrounding Walz not going away. So Breitbart the headline of Breitbart said, Tim Walz gets nuked by his former battalion commander. He did not earn the rank. Also trending this morning, Nancy Pelosi is saying that the president's letter to drop out of the campaign didn't sound like him, she's saying. It didn't sound like Joe Biden to me, she said. And this is a piece by Pelosi at the New York Times. And she said, talking about this issue, and again, she said she didn't feel like it sounded like Joe Biden to me. It really didn't, she said. You can find more details on that story. Pelosi said, I didn't accept the letter as anything but a letter. I mean, there are some people who are unhappy with the letter. Let me say it differently. Some said that some people were unhappy with the letter. I'll put it in somebody else's mouth. It didn't sound like Joe Biden to me. It really didn't. That story has been out there for days, trending this morning. Also, the sheriff, this is an Illinois sheriff who is stepping down following the backlash over the handling of the Sonia Massey shooting. And he's been criticized for the way he handled it. It was a police shooting of Sonia Massey. She was killed by a sheriff's deputy. And he now has announced, the sheriff has announced he will retire by the end of the month. So Sheriff Jack Campbell made the announcement on Friday, just a month after Massey was shot and killed by a deputy outside of her home in Springfield, Illinois. So the deputy was fired, charged with first-degree murder, as well as other charges. And now the sheriff, due to the criticism and heat, is stepping down. Also, we've got Jaron Duran of the Red Sox apologizing for directing a homophobic slur at a fan. This happened on Sunday night, or he apologized on Sunday night. It was a heckler who was giving him a hard time, and I don't know what slur he used, and it does, to many of us, I don't think it matters. We don't use that language, whether we're angry or not. It's just speaks to character, in my opinion. So he's apologized for it because he was caught on a hot mic. Said, I will use this opportunity to educate myself and my teammates and to grow as a person, he said in his apology. Also, Los Angeles was rattled by a 4.6 earthquake. The epicenter was near Pasadena. So it's rattled Southern California. And I saw a story from ESPN and some of the folks at ESPN being caught by that. Also, LeBron James is drawing criticism for shunning a kid in Paris then before breaking into dance to celebrate Team USA's gold medal victory. And there are a lot of people who are upset with LeBron James. They were saying shame on him because of this. It was a young French fan who was trying to approach LeBron James. And he just wanted an autograph. And he was upset with the kid. And so now fans are reacting to LeBron James, shame on him. What do you expect from LeBron James? I mean, I'm not justifying what he did. I'm just like, it's very much in keeping with who LeBron James is. Not a very likable character. Also, 2 migrants have been arrested for raping a woman at Night Point after assaulting her boyfriend. This is in Brooklyn, near the Coney Island Boardwalk in Brooklyn. So 2 men who are believed to be migrants were arrested in the rape of this woman at Night Point. The men forced the woman to the ground, so on. You can imagine what that scene was like. So, but that story is trending this morning. Also, the FDA giving a thumbs down to MDMA for now. This is MDMA therapy. And for PTSD. And some news outlets are saying this is a setback for psychedelic medicine, but that story is trending. See what other stories are out there trending this morning. This is incredible. This is from the UK. A submarine captain is sacked for making a sex video while he was in charge of nuclear missiles. So there's a captain of a nuclear submarine from the UK who makes a sex tape with a junior sailor at sea. I don't know about you, but I don't need any additional details. No more details required. He was sacked. All right. Also, the Trump campaign office in Loudoun County, Virginia, was burglarized. So a man is wanted in connection to the burglary, according to justthenews.com. So the burglary actually took place on Sunday at Trump's campaign office, which also serves as the headquarters of Virginia's 10th District Republican Committee. So what was happening there, anybody's guess. Also, the Perseid meteor shower lit up the night skies on Sunday night. So it peaked on Sunday night, and there are a number of stories. Fox News, USA Today, Space.com, which does some great reporting on things like this. So it was a rare Perseid meteor shower and northern lights display. And folks were getting pretty fired up about that. It's the beauty of nature. I think there's a lot to get excited about when it comes to the beauty of nature and these natural phenomena and events. Also trending this morning, President Biden obviously will be speaking at the upcoming Democratic National Convention in Chicago. Barack Obama and the Clintons will also be speaking at the DNC. Former head writer of Saturday Night Live has died at the age of 78. Bob Tischler, he was a producer and writer who helped save Saturday Night Live a number of years ago when it was struggling. He's died at the age of 78. And Representative Bill Pascrell has been hospitalized for the second time this month. This is a New Jersey representative, 87 years old. He's been hospitalized for the second time this month. And those are the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. Thanks so much for letting me join you, starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. It's great to have you here. This hour been brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
News every hour on the hour.
Well, I want to thank you, my friend, for letting me join you this morning, getting your day started with the Greg Belfrage Show. Hit that like button for me. It's very much appreciated, my friends. I hope you'll return on YouTube at 9:30 this morning for the 4th hour of the Greg Belfrage Show. So I hope to see you then. So long, and hope you'll be back again tomorrow. Take care, and may God bless.